Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in this video, we'll be going through trigonometry. So more specifically, SOHCAHTOA. So your sine, cosine, and tan. So I'm going to show you the different ways we're going to be able to use these formulas in all different applications. And hopefully at the end of this video, you guys should be able to know which formula to use based on which lengths you have. Okay, so it's not that hard. It's very, very simple. Once you understand the formulas, it's just you need to figure out which lengths you have. And then, I'll give you guys a couple of questions for you guys to try out. So if these videos have been helping you guys out and if you find these valuable, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And then subscribe if you want. I will be putting up more content on a regular basis, which I'm doing now, because hopefully I want to try and finish the whole syllabus both for GCSE and A level. So yeah, if it gives you value, that would be appreciated. Right, so let's get straight to it. So we've got 4 different examples, but before going through these examples, I need to give you guys a bit of an insight into how SOHCAHTOA work. So let's just, by the way, these are all right angles, yeah? So these are all right angle triangles, just before you ask or you're wondering. Now, let's just say, right, so I'm just going to draw here, but then you guys can copy this after, and and then I'll show you how to do those examples. So let's just say, let's use black. Let's say we have a right angle triangle, okay? Now, this length, the long length, is normally called the hypotenuse. Okay, so if you're not sure, if you weren't aware of that, you need to know what these are. This is hypotenuse. The bottom is called adjacent, and then the this length is called the opposite. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we derive the formulas from this triangle, and then this is which is the angle, which is theta, which is an angle, right? Now the way SOHCAHTOA works is essentially SOHCAHTOA. Okay, SOHCAHTOA. So the way it works is pretty much, it is kind of you're reading the formula and the formula is from there. So what I mean by this is you see right? S, so that's going to be sine theta equals to, O is opposite over H, which is hypotenuse. That's formula 1, right? So that's sine. If you look at this one, this is K, which is cos C, so that's cos theta, equals to A, which is adjacent, over H, which is hypotenuse, formula 2, right? Now if we look at TOA, which is T, tan, so it's tan theta is equals to O, which is opposite, over A, which is adjacent, TOA, and that's the third formula. Okay, so that's literally how we derive it. Very, very simple. And the way you know which formula to use, essentially, which is what I was saying earlier on, is basically you need to know which lengths you have, right? So if you look at this sine, for example, if you have adjacent, like the A, which is this length, if you have adjacent, you cannot use sine, right? Because there's no A in here. Likewise, if you look at cos here, if you have O, you can't use cos because it's K. There's no O in this formula, right? So what I would say is just write this down. If you haven't got this, write it down in your book, pause the video, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we're going to use these formulas. So have these formulas on your book as well, okay? I'll try and see if I can write it down somewhere, but have it in your book so you're going to understand what I'm going to do when we go through this. Okay, so right, let's get straight to these questions. So what we're going to do is let me just put SOHCAHTOA here on the side so you guys know, right? SOHCAHTOA. Okay, now if we look at this first question, let's look at first the lengths that we have, right? So we need to find X, which is an opposite, and we have 9, which is a hypotenuse, right? So I have O and H. If you look at these 3, which one has O and H? Well, it's just going to be the sine, isn't it? O and H. So this is the one that we're going to use. So I'm going to say sine theta is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Now sine theta, I know what theta is, right? Because it's given in the question, the angle is 45. So I can say sine 45 equals the opposite, which is in this case X, over H, which is 9. Now to find X, all you're doing is cross multiplying. So you can say sine 45 times 9 equals to X. So we can rewrite this as X is equals to sine 45. It's the same thing, sine 45 times 9. Don't know what that is. So sine 45 times 9, that would be 6.36. So that means X is equals to 6.36 centimeters. And that is your answer. Now if we look at the second one, right, again, let's figure out what lengths we have. 11 is the hypotenuse, so we have H. X is what we want to find, which is the adjacent, A. If we look at these, which one has A and H in them? K. That's the only one that has it, right? So I know I'm going to use cos. I'm going to say cos theta is equals to a over h. Now theta we know again, which is 30 degrees. A is what we want to find, which is x, and h is 11. So again, we're going to find x by cross multiplying it. So x is equals to 11 times cos 30. So x is equals to, if we do, by the way, you have to use your calculator for this, yeah? So make sure you have a calculator with you as you're doing these. So that's going to be 9.53 centimeters. And that is my answer, right? I hope you guys are seeing what I'm doing here, the pattern on how I'm figuring out which formula to use, okay? And if we look at 3, now let's look at the length. X is O, 3 is A, so it's adjacent. So in this time, we need TOA, tan, right? So I'm going to say tan theta is equals to the opposite, which is x over adjacent 3. So okay, I should have written the formula, isn't it? So okay, let's say tan theta is equals to O over A. Tan theta we know, which is tan 60, equals the opposite, which is x over the adjacent, which is 3. Let's cross multiply. So x is equals to 3 times tan 60. So x is equals to, if we put that in the calculator, 3 times tan 60, that's going to give us 3 root 3, which is 5.2. And I'm rounding all these up to 3SF, by the way, if you're wondering. And that's it, right? So I've just shown you how we're using sine, cos, and tan. And it's very easy. Once you figure out what lengths you have, you can then figure out what formula to use, okay? Now, the fourth example, what it is essentially how we find the angle. Because all of these 3 examples, if you look, we have the angle, right? Now, what if the question asks find the angle? How do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you this. And again, it's the same principle. If we look at 4.5 and see 5.6, so 4.5 is O, 5.6 is A. So I know that's going to be TOA, tan, right? So again, we're going to say tan theta equals to opposite, which is 4.5, over the adjacent, which is 5.6. So this time what we do, so we're going to say theta. So in your calculator, if you've got your calculator right now, put 4.5 divided by 5.6. Just do that first, right? And press equals and then press SD. So you're going to get something like 0.80357. If you have that, good. Now what we're going to do is you're going to press shift in your calculator, tan, right? So shift tan, you should see tan -1 on your calculator. And then press ans. Ans is the button on the left next to the equals button. So if you press ans, it's basically taking the answer previously that you got, and then press equals, you should get 38.8 degrees. And that is your angle. Okay, and that's literally it. That's trigonometry, right? That's literally what it is. So you're just using these formulas to find it. Now, of course, there's going to be a bit more harder ones, and we can go through that in another video. But right now, what I want you guys to understand is how to use this before going into the more advanced ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of questions for you guys to try out. If you need to pause the video and replay again, play it again just to understand what's happening, and then try these questions out that I'm going to give you. Okay, so here are the questions. Have a go at them and play the video back to see the work solutions. Right, so if we look at the first one, we've got O and then we got A. So we know we're going to use tan, right? So it's going to be tan theta is equals to opposite, which is x over adjacent 5.6, right? So we know what tan theta is actually, which is tan 55 times 5.6, which is x. So that means x is equals to, if you put that in your calculator, tan 55 times 5, it should be, well, 7.99, which is just going to be 8 centimeters. So that's what you should have got. Second one is we have A here and then we have H here. So we know we're going to use K. So it's going to be cos theta equals to A over H. Cos theta we know, which is cos 40. Adjacent is X, which is what we want to find. And H is 9.4. So if we cross multiply that, X is equals to 9.4 times cos 40. So that means X is equals to, if we put that in, 9.4 times cos 40. So that gives 7.2 centimeters. Okay, and the third one, we've got O here and then we have H here. So this time we're going to use so sine theta is equals to O over H. So sine 35 equals to X, which is what we want to find, over the H, which is 12.5. So if we cross multiply that out, X is equals to 12.5 times sine 35. So that means X is equals to 12.5 times sine 35. Oh, no, wrong one. 12 times sine 35. That gives you 6.88. So those are the answers that you should have got. If you got it, well done. And yeah, that's literally it, really. So again, there'll be a bit more advanced ones, but I can do that in another video. Right now, what I want you guys to understand is how you apply these formulas, because if you don't know how to apply these formulas, you can't do the hard ones. It's as simple as that. So hopefully this video has given you value and you guys now finally understand how to use trigonometry, SOHCAHTOA. Now remember, these sine, cosine, and tan can only be used normally in a right angle triangle. If it's not a right angle triangle, then you go and use a sine rule and the cosine, which is very different to this. So don't get those two mixed up. Okay, so that will be it for this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.